We're going to go ahead and get started here today. And I have an interesting, today's lesson is intended to be very, very practical for you because over the last week, we have launched this church-wide small group effort. Just out of curiosity, who is in a small group? Quite a few of you, right? And for those of you that aren't, I'm sure that we can find space. I'm sure that there's a way that we can figure out a place for you to get involved with in this effort. For those of you that are in a small group, I thought what we would do today is I thought there may be value in taking a little bit of time to look at how do we get the most out of a small group? How do you get the value out of that? And I want to start out, and I'm going to tell you a story. And the story, I tell you a lot of stories that become rather embarrassing for me, and this one will at least start out that way. When I was in college, my second year of college, I had to take, sort of the curriculum that was laid out for me is that I was supposed to take organic chemistry. Now, just out of curiosity, is there anybody else that's taken organic chemistry? A couple of you. Was it fun? No. Okay. I saw a hand over here. Was there an organic chemistry over here? Won't admit to it. So I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and I signed up for organic chemistry, and I go into this huge lecture hall. The lecture hall had at least 300, if not 400 seats, and they were all filled. First day of class. And the professor comes in, and he used a little more colorful language than this, but he said, "Welcome to organic chemistry, the course from heck." And he said, "You've probably heard all the rumors about organic chemistry. I just want to set the expectation with you up front." He said, "I'm going to tell you right now, if you score a 70% or better in my class, that will get you an A." Now, I will tell you that in high school, academics came pretty easy for me. Like that wasn't something that I had to work real hard at, and I even didn't have to work real hard at that my first year of college. And now that I'm in my second year of college, I'm taking this class in organic chemistry. And so when the professor says, "You got to get a 70% or better in my class to get an A," I'm sitting, well, it was sort of stadium seating in there, but I'm sitting over on this side of the room thinking to myself, what type of idiot can't get 70% in this class? Those are the thoughts that started in my head. Professor continues on. He says, "I want you to know that if you get a 60% or better, you will get a B." And I'm in disbelief. I'm like, there is no way. Like, there is no way that this class has the reputation that it has and that these are the numbers. No way. He would continue on. He said, if you get 40% or better, you'll get a C. And I was like, that's something else. And I'm sort of checked out because I'm like, this doesn't even apply to me. This, like, and he concludes by saying, if you get a 30% or better, you'll pass. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So the semester starts. 400 kids in the class. There were going to be 3 exams and a final exam. There would be, we'd have these checkpoints throughout the semester, and then there'd be a final exam. And so we get to the time of the first exam. And again, academics had come pretty easy to me, so I didn't put a whole lot of effort into this exam. I did review my stuff. I was like, oh, this is pretty straightforward. I'll go in and do this. All the seats are filled. I complete my exam. I go in, I turn it in, and as I'm going out the exit, the professor nods to me. And I nod back to him. He said, "How do you think you did?" I said, "I think I did real well." And I walked out of that door thinking to myself, I'm high 90s. I'm high 90s on this. Now, it takes a little bit of time to score 400 exams, right? And so when the exam comes back, I'm looking at it, and I'm scratching my head just a little bit. Because on my first exam, I got a 78. And I was like, well, that's a far cry from the mid 90s that I thought I was going to be in. That's a far cry. But I thought, still an A, 70% or better is an A. I'm okay. I'm okay, right? We continue on throughout. And now I should say, after that first exam, the 400 students in the class dwindled to about 200. They gave up. They tapped out, right? Now we get to the second exam. Now I'm going to tell you, from the first exam to the second exam, things got a little more intense. They got a little more intense. There were parts of this that did not, like, they just didn't make sense to me. It might as well have been written in a completely different language. And I studied the best I knew to study at that point. And I went in and took that exam, got done, took it in, took it up to the front of the room, turned in my exam. My professor was up there. How do you think you did? So I think I did all right. And I walked out of that door thinking to myself, I at least got a 70. Surely, like, again, what type of idiot can't do this? This is probably too harsh a language for 2025, but that's the way I talk to myself at that point. A couple days later, the exam comes back. My second exam is a 53. And I was like, oh boy, things are getting real now. And so I was like, oh, so we moved from the second exam to the third exam. And now I have to lock down. I have to learn how to study. And so what I ended up doing is, I think it was for about 2 weeks before that exam, I lived in the library. And what I did is, and I meant to bring them. I didn't do this because they were actually sitting on the table nearby in the dining room. But I made these flashcards, and I had all sorts of. I just made my own flashcards, and now I'm sitting there and studying, and I'm talking to my friends. And after the second exam, we went from 200 to probably about 125 students in the class, and everybody else in the class is in the same boat with me. We're taking on water, and we're taking it on fast. And so, well, what are you doing? Well, do you understand this? I don't understand this. Like, there's some of these conversations that are happening. And so I just started working on creating these flashcards. And I sat there and I'm just quizzing myself, and I'm quizzing myself, and I'm quizzing myself, and I'm quizzing myself. And things are starting to connect. And with some of my colleagues, they are they're seeing what I'm doing, and they're like, well, hey, can I make a copy of your flashcards? You seem to have some system. I don't have a system, but maybe what you're doing could help me. And what I came to find is, through that system, what happened is there were a small group of people that came together, and we started talking about the same thing. And we started to get a little bit better at it. And now it comes time for the third exam. And I go in, and that exam is passed out to me, and there is no bit of sweat. I mean, those exams were many pages. I don't have them. I would love to be able to show this off, because when it got time for when we got to the third exam, I was done. I turned it in. Professor nods to me. I'm like, I knocked this one out of the park. That exam came back. I believe I scored a 98 on that third exam, and was the top grade of however many. And there may have only been about 15 students left at that point. I mean, they were fading fast, right? So that may not be that impressive. But what happened is that I had locked in, but I had a group of people around me. Hey, can you help me understand this? Can you, and well, what happens in this situation? And what happens in that situation? And we were going through this, and it was such an interesting and exciting time. And I'm going through, because I'm telling this story, but I wanted to make sure that I have all my notes covered here. What happened is as we came together and we were focused in our efforts, we got different results. seats. For those of you that come to second service, these few rows up front here are typically reserved for the youth. And it's a sight to see. If you haven't done that, I cannot encourage you enough to see that, just to see the testimony of their presence here on a Sunday morning. Now, I am old now, and whenever I was youth age was 35 years ago. And I will tell you that I was not interested in that. I would go to Sunday school at the time, and what we had is there was another kid in the class whose family was going through some really hard stuff. I didn't have compassion for what their family was going towards or going through. And every week was more of a therapy session for this one person, and I was like, I'm checking out. And I would come to service on Sundays, and then I would leave about as fast as I could after that. I don't have this in my notes, but I just want to make sure I kind of spell this out for you. Pastor John likes to talk about churchy words, and I want to give you two churchy words, and I want to try to draw this for you. The first word I'm going to give you is justification. Right? Justification is when you accept Christ, you become justified. You go from being wrong with God to being right with God. This is the process. Justification is the process by which you gain righteousness. So you can go through life, and you can be. I should have thought about this a little more before I did it. You can be right with God, and this is poor language, you can be wrong with God. But when you accept Christ, you become right. You are justified. But that's not where it ends. And this is where the world gets a little confused at times. Right? We've probably all at least heard of the situation where somebody finds out that you're a believer, and then they immediately judge your behavior because your behavior does not meet some standard that they expect. Right? A Christian would not sit in an organic classroom and say, what type of idiot can't score a 70%? That's not what a Christian would do. Somebody would have that perspective. So we have justification here. Now, the second churchy word I want to give you is sanctification. Sanctification. And this is the ongoing process of becoming like Christ. And I'm trying to draw this because, you can go through life this way, and this is justification, but when you go to sanctification, this is an uphill climb. And I want you to know there's no end. At least as far as I can figure out, there's no end. It's not like you put in 5 years, you got it. You put in 25 years, you got it. It's ongoing. I don't know about you, but I'm still learning. I'm still being refined through life. Some of the expectations or presumptions that I had, I've been challenged on, and I've had to look at those just a little bit differently. If I try to connect this to my organic chemistry class, I had a certain attitude, and my attitude was wrong. I thought I could just show up and pass the exam. But somewhere, my attitude changed, and it went from a wrong attitude to a right attitude. But that, just because I had the right attitude, did not give me the result that I wanted. I had to go through a process. to improve that. All right. Now, if I take this back, and again, I grew up in the church. One of my first, I have two of my earliest Sunday school teachers in this room. Linda was one of them. You had to be back in the day. And Jill was another one. Like when I first came to this church, my Sunday school teacher was a young lady by the name of Jill Motzine. She wasn't even married yet. Like that's how long it is. And thank you, Jill. Just and Linda, I say give both those stories as just full of respect. But we have to have this process. And what happened is, as a youngster, I accepted Christ and I went from wrong to right, but I just was riding that. And it took until a ride home from Punxsutawney one night when I heard a preacher say, how sad is it for somebody who's been in church their whole life, yet spiritually they're still in adolescence. And I realized that was a real punch in the gut for me, because I was probably in my early 30s when that happened. And I was like, that's a little too close. Actually, I was probably in my late 20s when that happened. And you have to go through this process. Now, how do you go through this process? And I'm here to tell you today that small groups are a way for you to have this process go so much faster. That's what I'm here this morning to share with you. So I want to give you, I have 3 principles that I came up with for how to operate in a small group for you to get the most out of it. And I also have 2 bonus principles, because the more I thought about it this morning, I thought I can't not share this with you as well. So if I haven't given, I need somebody to keep me honest from a timing perspective. If you don't, somebody set an alarm for 10:30 so I can do my best to wrap up on time. But I have 3 principles I want to share with you, and I'm going to give you some scripture to help support these principles as you look at participating in a small group. The first principle that I'm going to give you is this one. None of us is as smart as all of us. None of us is as smart as all of us. If you would turn with me to Proverbs chapter 15, verse 22. The writer of Proverbs says, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. You bring more people together, you get more knowledge to be able to formulate a better plan. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 12 through 14 reads, the body has many members, each necessary. I want you just to take a glance around this room, and I want you just to remind yourself that every person in this room is necessary for the body. Each person. Just as a body, though one has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit so as to form one body, whether Jew or Gentile, slave or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but many. We need all of us, right? We need all of us. And the experiences and the perspectives that God has given you throughout life bring such value to the table when you get in a small group. Now, I'm going to give you an impractical way that I started off with my chemistry little group, and as time went on, there was a little group that we were in pharmacy school and we were struggling. And I remember being in a group well, actually, again, if you can think less of me, I figured out how to pick the locks to the med student lounge. And they had the nice chairs, and they had the TVs, and they had all the stuff in there, but they had the big whiteboards, right? Or I guess they were chalkboards back in the day. And so I figured out how to pick the lock, and I went in there, and I brought a few of my cronies in, which I think is a legal term. And we went in there to study, and I remember we were trying to figure out how do we connect these things. And I remember one girl in my class saying, "Oh, I really like to eat corn." And so she was trying to help her set her brain to remember something based on something that she liked to eat that maybe other people in the room didn't like to eat. Right? Like I like to eat corn, so because I like to eat corn, that starts with a C, and C is what this antibiotic starts with and is the solution for whatever. Like it was a stretch, right? Uh, I share that with you because that wasn't real practical. But I'm going to tell you the opposite of that is so true. You have so much practical experience. God has revealed himself to you in such wonderful ways that when you go to a small group, I want to remind you that none of us is as smart as all of us. And when you are able to share the things that God has done, is that he has brought you through, that it brings such richness to that small group. Numbers chapter 11, verses 16 and 17. Moses was challenged to lead the nation of Israel, and it was not going well. They were a bit of a surly folk, and he needed some help. And so verse 16 says, "The Lord said to Moses, bring me 70 of Israel's elders who are known to you as leaders and officials among the people. Have them come to the tent of meeting, that they may stand there with you. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the power of the Spirit that is on you and put it on them. They will share the burden of the people so that you will not have to carry it alone." God's Spirit is upon each person in this room. And when you show up and you bring the Spirit with you, the Spirit speaks through all of us as we have that time together. It's not just one person. So the first principle that I would give you as an encouragement in your small group or to join a small group is this: none of us is as smart as all of us. Now I'm going to hit a pause here. I'm going to tell you, you can write these things down and you can take these things to the workplace. Whatever your workplace is tomorrow, or this afternoon, or whenever it is you next go back to work, these principles absolutely work there too. They absolutely work there. So none of us is as smart as all of us. Principle number 2. If you want to go fast, go alone. Have you ever wanted to get somewhere and you had to wait on somebody? Have you? I'm going to quote my dad. My dad, you don't have to hang around with my dad much more than a day than to hear him say something to the effect of, "I spent 9/10 of my time waiting on your mother." And it's been that way my whole life. And he even has a miniature version of that. He'll just roll his eyes and say, 9/10 of my time. 9/10 of my time. Right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Ecclesiastes chapter 4. And look at verses 9 through 12. The writer of Ecclesiastes writes, 2 are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Now, I drew this sad little diagram here just a few minutes ago. I was going through life fast, and I wasn't making any progress. Just going through life fast and not making much progress. Truthfully, I can look back now and I can say my progress very much started whenever I joined a Bible class, and then I had or I shouldn't say I had. I'm not bright enough to come up with that idea. I was given the idea to teach a class, and now that I teach a class and I have you show up, there's this expectation. And what does that do? That's prompted me, because we go together, it's prompted me to take a slightly different direction, right? Most people you meet are going nowhere fast. Most people, they're going nowhere fast. When I checked out of the youth ministry as a teenager, when I got tired of hearing the drama that somebody wanted to bring every week, my growth stopped. My growth stopped at that point. I heard a few years ago that you can tell when people stopped certain things. You can tell when people stop, or you can tell when kids stop drawing. Right? I mean, when a kid starts to draw, they have, they start out and it's a stick figure or whatever, and then somewhere along the line they remember to put hair on it, and then maybe they'll put teeth or fingers or whatever. Like there's this process, but you can tell when people stopped doing that. You can tell when people stopped writing, right? When they stopped trying to improve their handwriting. You can tell for that. You can tell when people stopped learning their instrument, a musical instrument, right? Those of you that have played a musical instrument right now, I'd say Mary Had a Little Lamb, and there ain't much after that. That's about my limit. But if you keep doing it, what happens? You develop a better discipline, you get those things, and that's where it goes. But you can tell where people stopped. You can tell based on, I could have told you that I knew a great many of the quote unquote famous Bible stories, but how they all fit together, I didn't know. One of the things that challenged me was, well, who came first? Was it David or Moses? And I didn't know how to answer that question. Not when I started. I knew that David was important. I knew that Moses was important. I didn't know who came first. And that became clear as I started progressing in that way. A note I have written here: where you stop is where you stay. Where you stop is where you stay. So I encourage you to not stop. And I want to encourage you to go together, because that will allow you to go far. If you would, turn with me to the Gospel of Mark chapter 6. We're going to look at verse 7. Jesus is going to send out his disciples. And how does he do this? Verse 7 says, calling the 12 to him, he began to send them out 2 by 2 and gave them authority over impure spirits. He didn't send them out. He could have sent 12 of them. He could have sent all 12 of them out individually. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. I didn't look at this, but I think shortly thereafter, the 12 come back and they're amazed. They're amazed. We're not going to read through this, but Paul gets this idea that he needs to go on a mission trip. This is in Acts chapter 13. When Paul goes on a mission trip, does he go by himself? No. He takes Barnabas with him so that they can go far. And if you read the story, They encountered challenge. They encountered resistance. They encountered hardship. Things that could have stopped a single person by themselves. Principle number 3. And this may be a light bulb moment for some of you. Have you ever gone to a group? Maybe you've even come to church one morning and you walk out and you say, I didn't get much out of that today. Don't make eye contact with me, especially right now. But my guess is, let me take it. Have you ever been in a meeting in the workplace? And you go in there and you go out and you think to yourself, that's an hour of my life I will not get back. Have every meeting. Yeah. There's times that we go and we do things and it's like, what on earth was I doing there? So to get the most out of your small groups, I'm going to give you this principle. Principle number 3 is don't evaluate the group based on what you get out of it. Evaluate the group on what you put into it. Don't walk out and say, I didn't get much out of this today. If you didn't get a whole lot out of it, let me try that again in English. If you didn't get a whole lot out of it today, then there's a reasonable chance that maybe somebody else didn't either. There's a reasonable chance. So add value to it. Remember, we have a core value in here. This group, when we meet together, we have 3 values. Timeliness, which I'm probably under the wire for now, growth, and add value. If you're in the meeting and it's going nowhere, add value. Put something into it. You're in the meeting and the meeting's going in circles and circles and circles. Add value to it. And this applies to the workplace. It applies to the small group. Luke chapter 6, verse 38, Jesus says, give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you used, it will be measured to you. Give. Put something into it. Galatians chapter 6, verses 7 through 10, Paul writes, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Just sit on that for a moment. You go to the small group, you put nothing into it. What should you expect to get out of it? You reap what you sow. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Do not let us become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of God. On what you can put into it. Look at what you could put into it. Acts chapter 2, verse 42. The early church, it's starting to grow. It's starting to grow. And it says, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. When a small group thrives, it's because people are coming together ready to contribute. They're not there to consume. Some of you, those of you that are in a small group this week, maybe you went and I got to look around the room, see if I can offend. So, what is the biggest disappointment in all of cookies? Raisins. Preach. You are teaching on the 28th. It's about raisins. That's fine. That's you see the cookie, you think chocolate chip. You take a bite, you discover raisin. That's a disappointment, right? Like, let me just, this may become a new core value for us, and it might be chocolate over raisins. I don't know. Like, we'll have to think about that. But are there? I think the technical term is weirdo. Are there any weirdos in here that prefer raisins over chocolate chips? Oh, a couple. Okay, all right. I'm just funning you. No, I'm not. I'm gonna hold that against you. I'm gonna be thinking about it. No, but like so we went to our small group. They had cookies. They looked good. They had walnuts in them. I'm not a walnut guy. I'm like, why do they have to ruin the cookie by putting walnuts in it? Henry, are you with me? Yeah, exactly. So, like, why make it more complicated than it needs to be? Just give me the chocolate chip cookie, right? So judge the group. Don't go and say, oh, the snacks weren't that good, so it wasn't. Bring better snacks. Contribute, right? You don't like the raisins? Bring fresh grapes, right? There's something that can be done. There's something that can be done there. How am I doing time-wise? 1 minute. Okay, we're going to go fast. I have two bonus things. Bonus number 1 is simply persist. Now, if you've been with me long enough, this is one of my favorite words, and I do this whole sort of word study on the difference between being consistent and being persistent, and on what's the difference between being persistent and persevering. So this is my very quick description. You can be consistent at doing a lot of things, like brushing your teeth, right? Consistent is something you just do. Persistence is something that you do even when you don't feel like it. All right? So I'm going to tell you, when you get in your small group, there may be a time where you don't feel like it. There may be a day that you go to work and it's a Monday that shows up disguised as a Tuesday. And my guess is we've experienced that. Every once in a while, we'll encounter a Thursday or a Monday that's disguised as a Thursday, right? There's times where you can have a bad day and you can be like, oh my goodness, it'd be so easy to not go tonight. I want to encourage you, persist. Even when you don't feel like it, persist. Now, the step beyond is persevere. I don't know that I want to go that far. I should go that far. Persevere is when you keep going, even when you have things actively preventing you from doing it. Right? You could be sick. Those are other conversations to have. But the simple thing is this: persist. Keep showing up. Keep showing up. Keep showing up. Don't feel like it. Don't care. Keep showing up. Keep showing up. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25 reads, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." Now, Bob's not in here this morning, but Bob started the men's prayer group 6 years ago, I think, 7 years ago. It started pre-COVID. And we would actually meet at a diner and we would get breakfast. There were times we'd actually show up at the diner before the diner opened. Like those were things that we did. And as COVID came on and we moved the prayer group online, Bob and I had many conversations about how do you think it's going? What can we do different? We got on there. The only person that'll talk is Tim Grover, and he won't shut up. I'm not making eye contact with you, Tim. And that may not have been the conversation that we had. But it was like, what do we do? How do we do it? And we kept showing up, and we kept showing up, and we kept showing up, and we kept showing up. And then there was one day, and Gary, you'll remember this, and Tim, you'll remember this. And anybody that was in the group at the time will remember this. There was one day where one of the guys in the group sent a text message out to everybody and said, guys, I really need your prayer on. And I don't remember what it is. I remember who it is. I don't remember what it was. I'm going to tell you, that group became brothers at that time. They were all friends at that time. They all knew each other. They probably all knew, but like there was a level up that happened in that group when that happened. And that didn't happen if there wasn't persistence. You must persist. It takes time for things to gel and mature. And the last bonus principle that I'll give you, bonus number 2, is, I lost it. Disagree respectfully. Disagree respect. You are going to encounter people who are at different stages of life, going through different things, some of which you may not understand. The absurd example that I will give you, and I'm sure I will offend somebody with this, is that I am at a stage in life where I don't care about cats. It's been that way for 50 years. And if you come to small group saying, oh, my cat, I am rolling my eyes. For those of you that went to the fair, you may have seen kids winning goldfish. Goldfish are what is known as a disposable pet. In my book, cats, disposable, right? Now, I say that with humor and a little bit of absurdity. But what's going to happen is you're going to encounter people at different stages in life. And they're going to be going through different things. And what happens is we need to give them that grace, right? You need to be able to disagree and recognize where they are may not be where you are. They may have different priorities in their life than what you have. And so what I want to encourage you to do is to learn how to disagree respectfully. And I'm going to give you the cheat on how you start. And we've already done it in this class for years now. I will get up here and I will make some comment about what was for dinner on Thursday night. Who said it? That's exactly what it was. I think it was Thursday night. It might as well have been Thursday. We had meatloaf, and you know that I'm not a fan of meatloaf. And there's some of you that cannot understand that. And that's fine. I am okay with that. I am okay if you love meatloaf. I need you to love me enough to say it's okay that you don't love meatloaf. There's a couple weirdos in here that liked raisin cookie. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it, right? But disagree respectfully. Disagree respect. Fine, and I would actually encourage you to do this. Find things that you can disagree about, but not be disagreeable with the person, right? Learn, because that's going to strengthen those bonds. That's going to make things just all the better. So it can be, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What's your third favorite candy bar? Those are questions that, like, I ask my kids' friends. Hey, what's your fourth favorite candy bar? And I just pull out random rank. I don't ask what's your favorite. I ask like third, seventh. What's your 11th favorite candy bar? Like, I just do things to have conversations. And then you just that's interesting. That's interesting. You recognize the people for the uniqueness that they have. Because I want you to remember that God has such beauty in his diversity. Observe that. Observe that. Don't say, I don't know how anybody could be so ridiculous as to not like meatloaf. As I look through my notes, I have one final note that I want to encourage you to take. If you haven't taken any notes at all today, take this note. Small groups work best when we show up, open up, and build up. Small groups work best when we show up, open up, and build up. So I will close today by edifying those of you who are in a small group. I hope you can look at these principles and maybe find ways to leverage those as you meet this week. If you are not in a small group, I guess come see me afterwards, and I'm sure we can find a place for you. But I think as you look at these principles, you can find great value in how they can help you both here in your life at church, but also just in everyday life with what you have going on. So with that, I'm going to stop my recording.